Hi, I'm David Veach, and this is Elevate Your Performance. We've been looking at the historical progression from craft manufacturing to mass manufacturing, and then ultimately to lean manufacturing. And I've been drawing connections to a variety of technology and demand issues that force so many of those decisions. Now, the last time we discussed the telegraph and the birth of Western Union. Today, I want to share some discoveries about the telephone and the founding and growth of the American Telephone and Telegraph Company, or AT&T. Now, within that story, we want to discover the birth and contributions of a company called Western Electric for the manufacturing of these groundbreaking products and innovation in manufacturing processes. Western Electric grew from a small shop in Cleveland, first acquired in 1856 by George Schalk to produce telegraph parts. He partnered with a guy named Enos Barton, but then he sold his shares to a guy named Elisha Gray around 1870. Now, Elisha Gray was working on technology to transmit voices over telegraph wires. Sound familiar? Now, Gray and Barton moved the business to Chicago in 1872 and incorporated under the name Western Electric Manufacturing Company. Alexander Graham Bell, of course, gets credit for inventing the telephone, making it work in 1876 with the now famous line, "Mr. Watson, come here, I want to see you." This was only 3 days after his patent was issued on March 7th, 1876 for the telephone, despite a caveat being filed in the patent office by Elisha Gray in 1875. That was the same year that Gray sold his rights to Western Electric to Western Union. During the summer of 1876, Bell and Watson demonstrated the telephone to the rest of the world at the Centennial International Exposition in Philadelphia, alongside dozens of inventions that demonstrated the value of mass production. Bell's work had been funded by Thomas Sanders and Gardner Green Hubbard. Now, these were the fathers of two pupils from his School of Vocal Physiology and Mechanics of Speech in Boston, where he taught deaf and mute children how to communicate. Incidentally, one of his other students in 1872 was Helen Keller. Most of us have heard of her. After Western Union refused to accept their offer to sell the telephone patent for $100,000, Sanders, Hubbard, and Bell incorporated the Bell Telephone Company in 1877. In 1881, Bell Telephone Company acquired Western Electric from Western Union, and in 1876, over 100,000 telephones were in service. Now, as with every other invention of this magnitude and in this period of time, there were hundreds of claims contesting Bell's patent, many from Western Union. None was able to withstand either the evidence or the vigor brought by Bell Telephone. However, so Bell continued to grow. As lines expanded across the country, Bell's management formed a new company to handle the long distance stuff, naming the company the American Telephone and Telegraph Company. That was in 1885. In 1899, in response to some restrictive laws where they were, the assets of all of Bell's companies were consolidated under the AT&T banner, creating the monopoly we know as the Bell system, affectionately called Ma Bell back then. Now, in 1905, they opened a new manufacturing facility in Cicero, Illinois, and named it after the original name of that town, Hawthorne. The Hawthorne Works became one of the biggest single-site employers in the country, with over 45,000 employees showing up every day at its heyday. It also hosted dozens, if not hundreds, of innovative studies in manufacturing processes and socio-technical systems, including the studies surrounding the famed Hawthorne effect, which we'll get into in a little while. There's a lot more to follow, and I hope you stay with me as I try to keep up with these myself. If you'd like to know more about how I use these history lessons to make practical improvements in today's technology-driven companies, book a call with me. Let's have a chat. I'd love to talk to you. I'd be happy to hear about some of the problems that you're experiencing and how we might be able to work together toward effective solutions for you. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.